welcome back everybody. Today we're working on it's basically a power head to run different implements. So you would hook your implement up here and run the belt from the power head to the implement, and such as a small bush hog or whatever comes on these things. But it's a DR field and brush mower is basically what it is. And customer said he couldn't get it started, so I checked the oil and had to top the oil off because it wouldn't even read on the dipstick. So I got that topped off. There was no fuel in it, so I put some fuel in it, and the battery was completely dead and no good. So I went and got him another battery and just installed that. Excuse me. I tried cranking it over with choke, and nothing happened. So I got my little handy dandy squirt bottle right there, and I squirt some fuel in there and hit the key, and it fired up until it burnt that off, and then it died again. So I did pull the hose off here going to the carburetor off the fuel pump, and cranked it over again, and the fuel pump does pump fuel, so I know I have fuel going to the carburetor. My guess is going to be where it did run for a few seconds and then shut down, we probably have to pull the carb and clean it out. And so that's what we're going to do. So I should need, this is metric, so I'm probably going to need some 10 millimeter. Get those off of there, pull this cover off, and I'll probably have to take this top off because the carburetor is directly behind this spot here. So I'll probably take the top off there just to get it, so, which I believe is also 10 mil. Boy, that wind is kicking today. Let's see if we can get this off of here. Remember, I believe I talked about this one other time in one of my other videos. After you pull this screen off, you have that three-legged standoff there. All right, do not run that. You might be able to get away with idle. Well, you're not going to get away with full throttle. You have to put these pieces back on and run the screws in. Otherwise, these legs will spread out and then throw that engine out of balance. So that's what we're going to do real quick. I'm going to reinstall them, because I'm probably going to try to run this without putting all this mess back on again. And I want to make sure that I don't damage nothing. It also looks like that we might need a new fan for this. Yeah, this fan has cracks all around the top. And this is why I hate white plastics. White plastics break down and they get brittle and they start falling apart. But you see all those cracks all the way around this thing. I mean, look, I'm gonna scratch my fingernail into that. All around. The first good day's worth of work on this thing, this fan will be in pieces. And the fan blades are so weak that they put this top section on here to help hold the tops of the fans. Plus they sit so high too. They're pretty tall. Yep. Alright, so there's our carb. We'll get this filter housing off of here, and then I should be able to get access to my bolts for the carb. And then we'll be able to get that off of there. Alright, now we got the top cover off. We can see what we need to see. Let's finish taking this apart. Alright, there we go. We got her off. So let's head back into the shop. Get this tore down and see what it looks like inside, and maybe we put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Alright, just loosened up our little screw here on the side, which is a drain. Opens up that hole. So that should have drained out majority of the fuel. A little bit of debris in here and some green stuff, whatever that green stuff might be. I'm thinking maybe my jet here in the emulsion tube might be clogged up, but it's got a bunch of little jets in it. I'm going to take them all out, and we're going to clean them thoroughly, and we're going to reinstall them. So there's a tiny little jet here in the side. And I found it. I just took a little flathead and knocked the corners off of the bit, and now it's able to slide down your emulsion tube, and the blade's wide enough it catches all the way across that that jet that's inside there. All right, we got that jet out. All right, so this jet has a hole through the center of it, and it has a hole right there through the side of it. One on that side of it, one on that side of it. Actually, there's three of them. You got to make sure those are all cleaned out also. So now we're able to reach down in there and get a hold of our tube and get it pulled out. There we go. Sometimes the tubes are threaded in, but most of the time they just drop in. And then, you know, this jet is what holds it down in there. So now on this tube here, we have to make sure the center of it's clear, which it does not look like it is. It looks like it's plugged right up. We should be able to look through it, and we cannot. Yeah, it's blinded over with some crud. And then you have to make sure all these little holes all the way around it are good and clean. You got the holes in the side here, and you have that teeny tiny hole right there through the center. And I believe this one's for your idle. Your large tube here with your large jet is for your high. And then we have a little tiny one here, but I don't know if I want to take that out. Let's see. Yeah, we'll take it out. But I believe that's just like an air bleed, but we need to make sure it's clean also. And I can't see through that either. So yeah, we can see through it. So we got a little bit of cleaning to do on this carb. And there's one way down in there too. I can't get to that one. But I think these are an air bleed or something. That's what I think these are. Alright, now these two look the same, but they are not the same. There's a huge hole in this one and a smaller hole on this one on top. You have to remember where you got them from. So the smaller hole went to the top, the larger hole went to the side. On this carb, not all carbs have those separate jets like that. And I believe that's it. The only other thing we have is the idle speed adjustment, and we just need to make sure that works. It's got a limiter on top, and it turns freely. I have seen these actually lock up, and you go to turn them and you end up snapping the whole thing off, and you're buying a carb. So give me a few minutes, guys. I'm just going to clean it with some brake clean, and that should take care of everything. It's not that bad. And so that's how we're going to start off cleaning it. Just got to be careful with this O-ring in here. And I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to dig that out of there without damaging it, so I'm going to leave it in there. Alright guys, we're starting to put this carb back together. Got her cleaned up pretty good. I put my two air bleed jets back in place, one there and one over here. Remember, this one had those two jets look exactly the same, but this one had the large hole and that had the small hole. You can make sure you put them back in the same spot. I'm pretty sure the carb won't act right. I got the one back into the side here, which is basically your idle, or yeah, basically your idle. I've already got my emulsion tube put in and tightened down. I'm going to put that jet in the top of that, and it had 4 tiny holes that were drilled in the side of it. I made sure that all those holes were cleaned up. I think 3 of them were actually plugged off with some cruddy green stuff. So basically I just use these little tiny drills to do that with. Now, these drills are made for your hand. They're not meant to be chucked up into a drill. That's why they have this little plastic wheel on it, basically. So you're able to take that in your hand, and you're able to take and turn that using that plastic piece there. And it also has the size of it. And I got really tiny ones and slightly larger ones, but they're all tiny. They're fragile. I've broken 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And Harbor Freight specials. So now we're going to put our jet into the bottom here. It's a tiny bit easier to put your float into place now. Because there's a little jet there. You can get it on and off with the jet into place, but it's just a tiny bit easier. And then finally you can put your last little jet into place, and you can tighten that up. We're going to spray this bowl out, and this is just a plain Jane standard bowl bolt. Some of the Brazen Strat ones, it was a bolt, but it was hollowed out in the middle, and it had some hollowed out in the middle, and it had some holes in the side of it, and a jet through the middle of it, and that came up and fed the bottom of the emulsion tube. Some of the Briggs. All right, give me a second. Clean her out. Bought me a case of the brake clean online. Amazon had it. I forgot how much it was, but this stuff here. Almost 50 bucks, like $45 or $47, something like that for a case of them. It beats buying a can or 2 a week. All right, let's put our bowl back on. There we go. Yeah, it's starting to get a little dark on us out here, as you can see. Let's see if we can get this on real quick. Maybe we can at least give it a test without getting the RPMs up too high. Guys, if you got hard, stiff, brittle hoses, if you take and put a little heat on them, it softens them right back up. Let's give her a crank, see what happens. See if she'll fire up on her own. Don't want to run without choke. That's the very reason why I do not like throttle and choke tied into one control. Choke should be always separate from the throttle, because if you're old enough, you remember the vehicles that had manual chokes in them. On really cold days, you fired it up and then you push the choke in just a little bit and it smooth right out, and you wait for it to run rough again and you push it in a little bit more. You couldn't just on a really cold day, you couldn't just take and start it up and then shove the choke all the way in. It didn't like it. It would do what this thing's doing. But I still probably have a tiny bit of adjustment to do. I could probably mess with the idle part of it a little bit, but still, right now this thing is cold, hasn't been started in Lord knows how long, and it wants a little bit of choke for a few minutes. And the only way that's going to happen is if I just sit there and hold it with my hand. Make a couple adjustments. I can't do a whole lot right now with the idle jet because it has that plastic restraint on it, and until I pop that off, I can't open it up anymore while I got it now. But I did adjust the idle speed just a little bit. We'll see what happens there. we got her running. There's one more thing I want to show you. Sometimes these things will run a little bit. They might run 2, 3, 5 minutes, whatever. And then they shut down. And then you give it a few minutes and it fires back up and it runs 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever, and it shuts down. If your fuel tank has a fuel cap on it just like this one, what that is a vent. So when you're running it, you have to open it. You don't have to open it a lot. And then when you're done running it, you can close it. But that's what you have to do. I give it about one full turn and this thing will run. But if you don't open that, it'll create a vacuum in this fuel tank, and then it will eventually get so much vacuum it won't allow the pump to feed the carburetor, and it'll starve for fuel and then shut down. So keep in mind on that. All right, guys, this is the DR field and brush mower. This is basically the power head for it. It takes an adapter, such as a bush hog on the front of it, and I've got it going for him. And I think basically all I need to do is I need to get those covers put back on it, and then fire this thing up and make sure that all the controls and stuff are working like they're supposed to. All right, I did engage that a little bit and I could hear it turn on. But other than that, this thing's running. All right, guys. Hopefully this was some helpful information for you. Hopefully you enjoyed the information. If so, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, send me some comments, let me know what you think. Be kind and help people when you can.